back with another episode of Local Roots. Hi, I'm Todd Studer, and I am excited to announce that we have a new sponsor on the Local Roots show. It is the Unique Boutique Iowa in Neola. It is located at 101 4th Street, and as fans already know of Jamie and her shop, she's open on the weekends, Saturdays and Sundays, but you can shop online 24 hours a day. Just go to shopubiowa.com and see all of the different items that she has there in her shop. It's a really, really cool store, though, so you should take some time and get to Neola and take in the store this coming weekend. In the meantime, do you know or someone you love need in-home care? Home Care Advocacy Network helps you maintain your own privacy in your own space while still receiving care and support with a personalized touch. Aging in place can be critical for many people. Home Care Advocacy Network can meet those needs with an understanding that assisted living is best at home. HCAN of Southwest Iowa brings the personal touch to care at home in Council Bluffs, Glenwood, Red Oak, Clarinda, and all of the communities across Southwest Iowa. Visit hcan.com/Southwest Iowa to learn more. Coming up very shortly, we are going to learn some pretty fascinating stuff from Travis Castle and Associates, American Family Insurance. And Travis talks about the storms that we have seen recently and the frequency of storms. He has a chart, actually, that shows exactly what is going on with that over the past 20 to 30 years. So that is coming up very, very shortly. You're going to want to pay attention to this one because there's a ton of great information in here about insurance and what you should be looking out for in your own insurance for your home. So that is coming up just very soon. If you need precision metal fabrication done right, look no further than Foxco Fabrication in Council Bluffs. From custom welding to large-scale manufacturing, bringing your ideas to life with expert craftsmanship and cutting-edge technology. You know, we produce 2 shows here at Les Hills Media, this Local Roots show, and also Morning Coffee. And Rick is the guest on the Morning Coffee show. So if you haven't seen that yet, also make plans to watch that today as well as Local Roots. And Rick Graybill is one of my favorite guys. And we managed to stay on topic, I think, for the most part. But maybe we got off just a little bit. So that's on the Morning Coffee show. Joining us this morning, it is Travis Castle and Associates, American Family Insurance. Good morning, sir. Great to see you again. Boy, you sure look nice.
I knew I was coming on your podcast, and I thought I better dress up if I better look the part. Actually, got a couple other obligations today, but I put the tie on early for you.
Yeah, well. And I can tell already that you're much better at keeping shirts white because there's no possible way that I could have something that bright as what you've got there.
So far, so good. It's lunchtime yet, so give me a little time.
There you go. I love when we get the opportunity to talk, Travis, because you are such a great source of information. Having been doing insurance for as long as you have been, you have seen, I'm guessing you've seen just about everything come down the line and new stuff. But something that I wanted to talk to you today about was, well, as we're recording this, we had some storms move through last night, and different areas experienced different severe levels. I saw somewhere in Nebraska there was a pretty bad tornado last night, but it seems like these are happening a little more frequently, and you would be a source of information because you can take a look at what you have for stats as far as claims that are paid out and that kind of thing. And you would know that, hey, are we seeing more severe weather and more damaging weather than we used to?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really good point. And we are privy to some information that we can gauge storms and how storms impact our area. We've got, as you know, we've got 4 locations. I got an office my headquarters in Bellevue. We have office in Council Bluffs, office in Trainer, and an office in West Omaha. So our footprint is wide. And so if it's just hailing, and if it's not hailing in Council Bluffs, I still have some worries that it might be hailing somewhere else in our footprint. But to your point, it is very eye-opening as to the type of weather that we get and the amount of claim volume that we get according to that weather. And I'll share some data with you here in a minute, but just to kind of give you an idea on that, I mentioned we have an office in Elkhorn, and we all know the tragedy that occurred last April in Elkhorn when the devastating tornadoes rolled through that area. We American Family themselves only had 8 people, 8 homes affected in our entire book of business in that area. And so that when people see the devastation of a tornado, God forbid that it happens, but when it does happen, it's traditionally not as widespread cost as it would a hailstorm that would roll through and hit hundreds of homes. A lot of times a tornado will hit a specific alley and it'll go down a specific, maybe a block or so. But when we have hailstorms in the area, to give you an example, last summer's hailstorms in the Bellevue area led to about 350 claims in my office alone. And so when you look at wind and hail, both of them have a major impact on the claims that occur. But from a tornado versus a large hailstorm, traditionally the payout, there's bigger devastation and disruption of life in your daily life with the tornado, but with hailstorms, it's more disruptive to the masses of homes that are out there and that are being impacted from an insurance standpoint as far as that goes. And so, yeah, definitely to your point, it's worrisome and it has an impact on it. If I could, I'll share some information with you, Todd, on
Please do, yeah.
some things that we're seeing with weather patterns and how weather patterns are impacting our entire area. Let me pull this up here if I can handle technology.
There we go.
Can you see that
I can,
chart?
yes.
So this chart, a lot of people are really concerned right now with the prices of insurance. They're concerned with the changes that are going on with insurance, and they're trying to figure out how to manage their insurance portfolio, whether it's the cost of it, whether it's the type of policies that they have, or what type of limits they should have. And the insurance companies are dictating a lot of that. And a lot of that dictation is coming about because of what I just threw up on your screen. And whether you talk about climate, whether you talk about politics, whatever you want to talk about, I don't go down those rabbit holes. I just like looking at numbers. People lie, numbers don't. And these numbers are extremely impactful if you take a look at this. And what this chart shows, it's from the National Weather Service, and it shows the number of billion-dollar events, storms, that have happened annually since 1980. And it is adjusted for the cost of inflation, the rise of inflation. And so we're not comparing 1980 dollars to 2023 dollars. It's the payouts that have occurred are adjusted for the price of inflation. And so if you look at it, I'm going to skip around a little bit, but one of the things that it says in the middle in the big bold letters, it says in the last 3 years, there have been an average of $20 billion disasters per year. So different disasters that equated to more than $1 billion payouts for the insurance industry. And in the last 3 years, from 20 to 23 is where this data is from. And from 2020 to 2023, there were averaged 20 of those $1 billion payouts per year. If you go to the bottom left-hand side, the same, and if you take a 10-year time period from 2000 to 2010, the average $1 billion storms were 6.7 per year. In 2010 to 2020, they were 12.8 per year. So you go from 6.7 per year storms that paid out over $1 billion to 12.8 in the next 10-year period to over 20 storms a year paying over $1 billion from 20 to 23. And so that's having a huge impact on what we as citizens have to pay for insurance, and it's having a huge impact on insurance companies. And I can talk about that in a little bit as well as to what insurance companies have to do to try and overcome those payouts that they're faced with every year.
So if you're looking at this screen right now, a real easy way to see, Travis, what it is that you're talking about with the storms is green is what is represented by these graphs. And you can see how much more green there is in the second half of the graph than in the front half of the graph. And that is from severe storms. And also, I think it should bear mention, this is across the United States. This is not just locally. But what happens with major storms can have an effect on everyone because, American family is not just in Iowa and Nebraska.
Yep, absolutely. No, you're exactly right. And I think the headlines that we see in the news traditionally are hurricanes, wildfires, and storms of that nature get the headlines, right? Tornadoes get the tornado, get those. But as you can see in the very top line, it talks about the increase of weather-related homeowners insurance claims. And in 2021, 95% of the catastrophic losses were a result of hail and wind, weather-related claims. And so you're right, that green section on the map, all of those big newsworthy storms to where the weatherman or weatherwoman can stand outside in their rain jacket and be blowing almost blowing sideways with the wind and the rain, and the hurricanes, really a big driving force in the Midwest to our rate impact that we're having with insurance is due to wind and hail. And we are right in the belly of that. When I started in 2006 in the industry, I remember when I was going through training and they threw a map up on the screen, and that map had a blue swath across it was all south of us. It was all down in Missouri and Kansas and in Oklahoma area. And I said, what's that blue line represent? And the instructor said, well, that's the hail line. And insurance companies tend to measure hail lines and pay attention to where those storms are because they have to rate for them. And I said, oh, okay. And it was interesting. I've been an agent for about going on 18, 19 years. And that hail line has now, if they would show the same map today, that hail line has now moved north, and it is right over the top of us in the Midwest. And if you look at Iowa and Nebraska, hail storms and hail payouts, they're historically greater than they ever have been.
I just from a personal standpoint, I've noticed that we have seen more hail than I can remember being younger. And fortunately, any place where I am at hasn't had the big softball size stuff, but it's been in the area. And it's just, fortunate that it hasn't taken out my car yet. But it's out there, and we seem to see it frequently.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. The number of storm events, a hailstorm used to be an event, right? It used to be a big hailstorm used to happen once every 7 to 10 years when we were growing up. Now it's important for people to understand and kind of grasp a hold of the fact that these storms are happening every year. I mentioned last year we had 350 claims in our office alone in June and July. And those are happening every year. And the importance of understanding the impact of that, a lot of people will say, well, hey, my house has never been hit by hail, or my car hasn't been hit by hail. My insurance shouldn't be impacted by that. And I tell people all the time, if you are claims free, you will always have a better rate than somebody who has several claims. However, there comes a point with any business that you have to bring in more money than you're paying out. And what the insurance industry is seeing quite often now is loss and combined ratios. Combined ratios, the amount of expenses that you have and the amount of losses that you have compared to the number of dollars you bring in. And traditionally, nationwide in insurance companies on property, so we're talking about like homeowners insurance, the insurance companies for the last 5 to 8 years have been running at a 1+ combined ratio. So that combined ratio might be 132. Okay. And what that means is for every dollar that the insurance company brings in, they're paying out $1.32. Okay. For large commercial properties in 2022 in the state of Nebraska, then I'm talking about like multifamily apartment complexes, that had a combined ratio of 536 in 2022. So every dollar that the insurance company brought in to insure apartment complexes, multifamily complexes, they paid out $5.36. Now, those of you people the people that watch your podcast are very intelligent people, and they can figure out the more that you bring in, the more that you pay out $1.23 for every dollar you bring in, or you pay out $5.36 for every dollar that you bring in, you're not going to be in business for very long. And so insurance companies have had to really change the way they set up their pricing structure in order to remain profitable, so that they can continue to pay out the storms that appear on this map, and on this chart. And so a lot of that is coming down the pipe as we speak with changes in policies.
Well, and we have talked before, Travis, about those letters that come in the mail from your insurance company, and a lot of times we don't even open them. And I think that this would be an example of, we need to pay more attention than just what the premium is, because, as you said, there could be changes inside of that policy in order to try and mitigate some of these things. And insurance company is a business just like anything else, and it's not about making the most money. It's just about, at this point, it seems it's just about staying solvent. We have to be able to stay in business, and with the level of claims that are going out there.
Yeah, I understand completely when people can get a little upset in the fact that how much money do you need, right? But to your point, Todd, the insurance, whether people like insurance companies or don't like insurance companies, we need insurance companies to stay solvent, just like you had mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
In the past 3 years, there have been more insurance companies that have had to get out of the business because they could not stay solvent. They've had to either stop offering homeowners insurance in hail-stricken areas, or maybe they've stopped doing auto insurance or certain lines of commercial insurance. They've had to pull out of those areas to not take on more risk that's continuing to drive losses. That's having an impact on individuals, because there's less optionality out there for homeowners to buy homeowners insurance. There have been companies that have gone bankrupt. There have been companies that haven't been able to pay for their claims. And so, as much as insurance companies may bother people, and I'm an insurance agent and I'm a realist, I get that. I understand. As much as that happens, we as a functioning economy still need that large loss protection. If my house burns to the ground, if my car gets totaled, I need to pay a little bit each month so that I can afford that catastrophe. And so that's one thing that you're exactly right. We do need to stay solvent. And I will, and to your point also, Todd, when we look at the number of factors that we can put into place that drives that profitability for the insurance company to stay solvent, there are several. One is premium. Obviously, you can increase premium to try and overcome that chart that we had on the screen a couple minutes ago. You can increase premium to overcome those storms. But what insurance companies are doing are a couple other things right now that I'll talk about real briefly. One is that they are pulling a different lever, and that lever has to do with the deductible. Okay. The deductible, there's two types of deductibles. You have an AOP, which is called all other peril, AOP deductible. And that's the flat deductible that traditionally will stand for your home for like a kitchen fire, or if you have a pipe burst during the winter, that deductible is going to apply during that. For instance, a lot of times that all other peril deductible is $1,000 or $2,000 or maybe $2,500. So you have an all other peril deductible. What insurance companies have done now is created a lever called the wind hail deductible. So if you get hit by a wind and hail event, your deductible won't be that flat $2,000. It'll be 1%, or maybe a 0.5%, or 1%, or even I'm seeing 2%, 2% of the value of your home. So if you have a $300,000 home, you have a hailstorm hit your roof, you have a $3,000 deductible. 1% of that 300,000 is $3,000 deductible. And so it's really important, to your point, Todd, that people have a good relationship with their insurance provider, with their agent, with their agent's team, to where you can sit down and say, hey, my renewal's coming up. What changes have we had? And hopefully your agency, like ours is, hopefully they're being proactive and they're calling and saying, hey, Todd, there's a lot of changes going on with your insurance policy. Let's make sure we talk about those changes. And one of those changes is the percent deductible. And the other one, real quick, I'll mention as well, is how roofs are covered. So traditionally, roofs used to be always replacement cost coverage. You have a hailstorm, you pay your deductible. Back in the day, it was $500. Now it's much more than that. You pay your $500, the insurance company would pay everything else. And that would be replacement costs. So you could have a 30-year roof and it could be 28 years old, and a hailstorm came through and destroyed that roof. And 4 years ago, the insurance company would pay you 100% of that replacement cost minus your deductible. And insurance companies have realized that that roofs are continually wearing out on an annual basis, and that the insurance company should not be on the hook for the entire roof if it has depreciated over time. And so what's happened is that insurance companies have created another lever, and that lever is called a roof schedule. And so I don't know any other companies that don't have roof schedules. There may be some. I'm not going to be claim to be an expert on everybody else's policies, but a roof schedule depreciates your roof at a certain percentage a year. And I'll give you the example like American Family has. So we have a 3% depreciation schedule on standard class 3 shingles, like what you find on the majority of the houses. We pay replacement cost through year 9 of that roof. So year 9, year 8, you have a hailstorm, destroys your roof. You'll pay your 1% deductible. We'll pay for the rest of the roof. When you hit year 10, that roof is considered to be depreciated 3% a year. So at year 10, you would pay 30% of the roof plus your deductible. We'll pay 70% of the roof. Year 11, you pay 33%, insurance companies pay 67%, and it just continues to go on in that manner. It's another way that insurance companies can try to remain solvent, remain profitable, in a position, and puts a little more onus on the homeowners. But I love educating people about that, because we as homeowners need to plan for paying for more of your roof than just your deductible. And so that was a lot of information about what's coming in your mail, from percent deductibles to roof schedules. But those are real things that are happening right now that I hope everybody's aware of.
I think that, well, and I've heard you talk about this before, Travis, that having those checkups and having a scheduled time to be able to sit down with your agent to learn about some of these things, because let's be honest, there's a lot of those letters that come in. It's past my pay grade. I can't, I don't really understand what it is that I'm reading. But if I can sit down in an office with you, then, okay, let me explain this in layman's terms, and we can make sure that you truly understand what's happening.
Yeah, 100% agree, Todd. I feel that our responsibility as insurance professionals is that we need to be educators and we need to be advisors. I don't expect my mom or any of my sisters or any of my clients, any of my family members to be insurance experts. You guys, that's not what you've signed up to be, and that's why you should have a trusted advisor. I think it's just really important that not only does the agent know, but the agent's team knows. We spend a great deal of time educating our team. I've got a wonderful team of 8 people that work for us here at Castle and Associates, and they're all licensed, and they all can sit down with you and they can explain everything that I just explained, with that percent deductible, with the roof schedule, with your auto coverage. We haven't even talked about auto coverages, but there's 5 parts to your auto coverage. Maybe we can talk about it at a different podcast. But it just really is about sitting down and carving out 30 to 60 minutes of your time once a year or once every 2 years to where you and I can worry about your insurance. And then the rest of the hours and the 365 days in the year, we can worry about it, and you don't need to worry about it. I just think that it's really important that people have an educational and advisory insurance agency. and one that's proactive with offering reviews every year at your renewal, which is what we do. At every year at your renewal, 30 days beforehand, we'll give you a call and say, Todd, would you like to check up on that on those policies? And we can do it over the phone, we can do it via Teams or Zoom, or we can do it in person, whatever people want to do. I think it's really important. People should be asking their agent if they're not receiving that. They should be asking their agent for that level of service because it's really becoming complex.
I also think, but before we wrap up here, Travis, that this is one of the important things of doing business locally and having someone that is in the same part of the world, because we all like to save money, and often that comes with going with one of those national companies that we don't have an agent. We don't have someone that we can actually sit down and talk with and have a real conversation with, as opposed to just sending an email and getting an answer back from a bot or whoever it might be. That's where having someone local is so critical, I think, to making sure that everything is where it needs to be.
I appreciate you saying that, and I agree 100%. You can find cheaper insurance than going through someone who's educational and advisory in that way. And I always take people. It's easy to buy insurance, right? And it's easy to find cheap insurance. It's hard to have multiple conversations about a hailstorm or a car accident or medical expense that occurs from a car accident. It's hard to have that conversation when you can never talk to the same person and back-to-back phone calls. And that's what shopping locally does, to your point, Todd. It gives you that person, that agency, that office that you can lean on during the hard times. The easy times are easy. And I tell people, when we had 350 claims go through our office last year with the hailstorms, I told my team, I'm like, this is our opportunity to deliver on the promise that we've given to people. We've promised to be here when catastrophe strikes, when those hailstorms roll out of the west and they damage our property that people have worked so hard for. That's what we promised to do and promised to protect. And so we take very seriously when the claims roll through that it's our duty and our responsibility to provide people and deliver the promise that we gave them.
He is Travis Castle. Castle and Associates, American Family Insurance, 4 locations. So chances are he's got an office not too far from you. Thank you so much for being a part of things today, Travis. It's always great to talk to you. And I always, anytime that we talk, I always feel I'm leaving a little bit smarter than when we started.
Well, I appreciate you saying that.
Travis is a great source of information, and I'm thrilled that he's a part of things here on Local Roots, and we'll have him back on again very soon. Probably should focus a little more on car insurance. Do you think that we've had a couple of times that we've taken a look at home insurance, but car insurance making changes too? So we'll have Travis back on very soon to talk about that. If you have a leak, a clogged drain, or planning a big remodel, Waldstein Plumbing in Council Bluffs has you covered. Fast, reliable service and expert craftsmanship, handling everything from small repairs to major installation. Waldstein Plumbing is locally owned and trusted, taking pride in doing the job right the first time. Find them online at waldsteinplumbing.com. Again, thank you to the Unique Boutique Iowa for joining us on our sponsor role. And if you have a small business or know of someone that you feel could benefit from being a sponsor on the show, have them reach out to me, toddstuder@gmail.com. I'd love to have a conversation with them. That wraps things up for today. I am Todd Studer, and we'll see you back here again tomorrow morning.